Welcome back to the deep dive. You've handed us just a massive stack of sources on this one. We've got technical reports, global press releases, some pretty exclusive developer interviews.
And we are drilling down into all of it.
We are. Our mission today is the 9th main installment of a franchise that basically defined a genre, Resident Evil Requiem.
And this isn't just, a new game. This is a real structural experiment. And it's landing on a very, very significant date.
February 27, 2026.
Exactly. The franchise's 30th anniversary.
That date tells you everything, doesn't it? I mean, the stakes are just immense. This is clearly designed to be a definitive release.
It feels like an attempt to finally solve that identity crisis Resident Evil has had for years.
Right. The balancing act between the pure survival horror that the hardcore fans crave and the mainstream appeal of the action. It's a huge task for Capcom.
But what's so fascinating here is that they're not hiding it. The developers are, they're explicitly calling this a roller coaster ride.
Of tension and release.
Exactly. Using two totally different protagonists, Grace Ashcroft and Leon Kennedy, to deliver that ride. So we really need to dig into how they plan to synthesize the claustrophobia of RE7 with the action of RE4.
Okay, let's unpack that. Let's start with the huge narrative anchor for this whole thing. The sources all confirm it. We're going back to Raccoon City.
Partially, yeah. A half-ruined Raccoon City 30 years after the catastrophe.
Which is a massive decision.
It's the ultimate fan service, but it's also a huge narrative problem to solve. I mean, you'll remember the history. Kazuhiro Aoyama, director of the original RE3, he said the city was literally wiped off the face of the earth.
My tactical strike, yeah.
So to come back 30 years later to a half-ruined city, that requires a very sophisticated retcon to explain the fallout.
And the title, Requiem, that strongly suggests this isn't a celebration. It's a memorial.
It absolutely is. It's a farewell to the victims, but it's also about the personal loss that's driving our new main protagonist.
That's FBI analyst Grace Ashcroft.
Right. And her family history is just deep, deep franchise lore. She's the daughter of Alyssa Ashcroft.
From Resident Evil Outbreak, she was the one tracking Umbrella's downfall decades ago.
Exactly. So Grace is on a new assignment, but it leads her right back to the Redwood Hotel.
The site of her mother's murder 8 years ago. So it's personal.
It's intensely personal. This story is set up to answer way more than just what's happening now.
So what are the big questions it's promising to answer?
Well, the sources hint at a huge reveal. The ultimate truth behind the original Raccoon City incident, what really happened to Alyssa Ashcroft, and even some secret about Leon Kennedy's past.
And all of it connects to this one thing, this MacGuffin called Elpis.
Elpis. Yeah, it's a powerful reference.
Pandora's box.
It's what remained at the bottom of Pandora's box after all the evils escaped. It means hope. Or maybe dangerous hope.
So the truth they find could be liberating, or it could be the start of something even worse.
Precisely. And we're also getting the return of iconic locations, like a confirmed, though altered, Raccoon City Police Department. It's a game built on nostalgia, but, powered by a new mystery.
Okay, so this brings us to the core structural risk. The part of the sources that I find the most compelling, this dual path design.
Yeah.
Capcom isn't blending the action and horror. They're splitting it strictly between Grace and Leon.
And that's how they're managing the player's emotional state. Grace's parts are just pure, uncut survival horror.
Right. They've designed her to be the opposite of a typical hero.
Totally. They described her as introverted, clumsy, easily panicked. The interviews likened playing her to playing as Sherry in the RE2 remake, or even Ashley in RE4.
Total vulnerability.
Her gameplay is ruthlessly claustrophobic. It pulls straight from that suffocating dread of the Baker House in RE7, or the total defenselessness of Outlast.
And we have to talk about her stalker. This isn't just some tough enemy. It's an environmental force.
It's the new tyrant, if you will. The sources describe this relentless, grotesque woman mutant T-virus, engineered to be an ultimate predator.
So like Mr. X or Lady Dimitrescu, but with heightened senses.
Much more. She can move on the ceiling, and she instantly reacts to sound, sight, and even scent.
So if you breathe too loud or step on some glass?
She knows.
Yeah.
She knows exactly where you are. And Grace starts out completely unarmed. 0 firearms.
What does she have?
A lighter.
Yeah.
For, basic light and some puzzles. And glass bottles.
Just for distraction, to make noise.
That's it. You're forced into pure stealth, just praying your limited resources last.
And what about this new take on the safe room mechanic? That sounded fascinating.
It's a great piece of design. So this creature's skin is highly susceptible to bright light. It literally burns her.
Okay.
So you can find these high-intensity light sources, utility lights, flares, and activating them temporarily repels her. They create these little pockets of safety.
But they're not permanent.
Not at all. They're timed. It's a finite chance to breathe, solve the next puzzle, and then the darkness and the monster, they come right back.
And just when your anxiety is peaking as Grace, Capcom flips the switch, and you're playing as Leon Kennedy.
Complete whiplash. Leon's sections are the relief valve. They're unapologetically action-focused.
Over-the-shoulder, Resident Evil 4 style combat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Improved martial arts, close quarters attacks. He's the power fantasy. His combat skills are apparently way better than before, reflecting his experience.
He's the seasoned government agent. He can handle it.
He can. It's structured a lot like Resident Evil Revelations with those alternating episodes.
Yeah.
After a long, tense stealth segment with Grace, you get the catharsis of just high-level combat with Leon.
And the sources say his sections even have that trademark ironic humor and subtle sarcasm, a tonal shift that's pretty jarring.
It is. And there's one little detail that really drives home just how separate these two experiences are meant to be.
Oh, the car.
The automotive detail, yeah. It's pretty surprising to see. Leon drives a unique Porsche Cayenne Turbo GT.
A Porsche. Through a collaboration with Capcom. I mean, we're talking about a franchise built on being trapped in a damp hallway with 3 bullets, and Leon's driving a 6-figure luxury SUV.
Right.
Doesn't that risk kind of undermining the horror when one character is so ridiculously well-equipped?
I think that's the whole point. That's the structural risk. It highlights that Leon is control, he is agency and power. Grace is vulnerability and fear. You're not supposed to merge them. You experience them one after the other.
So the Porsche isn't just a car, it's a metaphor for the huge gap between their experiences.
Exactly. The sheer expensive distance between them.
Okay, so if we accept this duality, let's talk about the key design choice that gives you, the player, control over how you experience it.
The perspective switch.
The ability to freely switch between first person and third person at any time in the menu.
This is critical. And the director, Nakanishi, and producer Kumazawa, they were very open about this. It's about managing player anxiety.
Preventing burnout.
Yeah. They straight up admitted that RE7's commitment to first person made it too scary and difficult for most players to even finish.
So the toggle is basically a fear regulator. How does it work, though? How does it change the feel?
It changes the focus of the fear. When you're in third person playing as Grace, you can see her reactions. You see her stumble, her panicked breathing. That enhances the tension because you're watching someone you need to protect.
Okay.
But when you switch to first person, the environment feels smaller. That monster crawling on the ceiling feels much bigger, much more imposing. That maximizes the pure jump fear.
So you can literally dial your own anxiety up or down.
Depending on your threshold in that moment.
Yeah.
And this all feeds directly into their core design philosophy, which they call the dynamic curve.
Right, modulating emotions to avoid sustaining maximum tension.
They get that horror needs pacing, like music. You need the quiet parts to make the loud parts terrifying.
So Grace's segments are the intense horror.
And then they're systematically followed by Leon's segments, which are emotional relief, calm investigation, or, high-octane combat. That alternation is the dynamic curve. They've calibrated it to keep you engaged for hours without just exhausting you.
But even with all this talk about managing player fear, the producers were quick to say this isn't a simple return to roots.
No, they stress that. While Requiem has the fundamentals, puzzles, exploration, resource management, it's not a throwback to the 90s. Kumazawa said it's spiritually closer to an improved RE2 remake, or RE7. The goal isn't to recycle old ideas, it's to constantly reinterpret fear for a modern audience.
And speaking of modern, let's dive into the tech that makes all of this possible. This is the first title running on the next generation of their engine, RE Next.
A massive graphical leap. It's designed specifically for the PS5, the Xbox Series consoles, and high-end PCs. And the sources highlight that it supports path tracing.
Which, for anyone unfamiliar, is a super realistic simulation of light, reflections, and shadows. Why is that so important for a horror game?
It's absolutely critical for Grace's sections. With path tracing, when you flick on one of those utility lights to repel the monster, the shadows it casts are hyper-realistic, they're dynamic. It just drastically increases the sense of dread.
Digital Foundry even reported that RE Next solved a lot of the lighting issues from the older RE engine.
Yeah, the noise and artifacting. Better lighting means more realistic darkness and, way more terrifying shadows when all you have is a flickering lighter.
And it also supports the latest NVIDIA features.
DLSS 4, ray tracing reconstruction. It's basically tech wizardry that keeps the graphics photorealistic even with all that complex lighting at high frame rates.
Let's touch on the development history. This thing started way back in 2019. That's a long cycle leading up to that February 2026 release.
And that long cycle allowed for a pretty major course correction. Kumazawa revealed that the project actually started with a scrapped open-world multiplayer mode.
No way.
Yeah, with moderate horror elements. They abandoned it completely after internal reviews suggested that fans would just reject it.
Smart move. Shows a real commitment to the single-player vision.
For sure. And we have to mention the Nintendo Switch 2 version also launching on that 30th anniversary date. That wasn't in the original plan.
A late edition.
A very late edition. They only committed to it after they successfully tested Resident Evil Village on the new hardware and saw that the engine could scale down effectively.
But there was a specific note about the Switch 2 controls.
Right. No mouse support. It's going to rely heavily on gyroscope controls for aiming.
Which could add a whole other layer of physical panic, trying to keep your aim steady while you're being hunted.
It definitely could. Their confidence is really high, though. The game's already won a bunch of Gamescom 2025 awards. Best visuals, sound, epicness.
And Capcom has already gone on record promising investors a smooth launch on February 27, 2026. No technical problems like we saw with Monster Hunter Wilds.
They're putting a stake in the ground.
So what does this all mean for you as you're getting ready for this 30th anniversary release? The key takeaway from our deep dive is that Resident Evil Requiem is a highly controlled, very deliberate experiment.
A meticulous balancing act. It separates the purest stealth horror with the vulnerable grace in that new RE Next engine from the high-skill action relief of Leon Kennedy.
It's Capcom's big public attempt to end the franchise's identity crisis by just giving you both experiences, one after the other.
And they insist that even though it looks like they're always returning to their roots, the real goal is to constantly adapt what fear means to the player.
But this brings us to the final provocative question for you to think about. The developers have been so open about engineering this dynamic curve to regulate your fear and prevent exhaustion.
Right.
Yet, director Nakanishi has hinted pretty strongly at a completely unrevealed new system.
And that raises a huge question. If the dual protagonist structure already provides that curve of tension and relief, what does this new system add?
Is it something that tracks your anxiety and adapts the environment in real time? Maybe changes how aggressive the stalker is?
Is that the future of survival horror? A game that actively manages your emotional state, not just your inventory.
Something to mull over as we wait for those final details, which are planned for the Capcom showcase in January 2026. Until then, stay well informed.